I wanted to make an impact for as long as I can remember. And I actually have a really early memory. I think I was about like 5 years old, and my grandpa was asking me what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I think most little girls around that age would have said, a mommy, a flight attendant, or like a cashier. And my response was, I want to be president of the United States. And, I think in my little mind, I thought it has to be huge. It has to be big. If I want to change the world, it's got to be that kind of scale. And you might be laughing at me right now. I don't know, but I don't think I'm alone. I think so many of us have thought that impact can only be or is best done on this huge grand scale with lots of followers, with lots of likes, with the big stage and getting asked to do, the really large events and just some of those kinds of things. We have a tendency to think that that's what impact looks like. But I think we also can underestimate the impact that some of those small moments can have.
And that's exactly where our biggest impact is. It's in those small moments. A friend of ours says it this way: what we do for a few always has more potential than what we do for many. I would even say that if our influence is limited to those bigger things like what we share on social media, or things on a large scale, that we're actually missing our potential. There's so much more that our influence can do. True impact requires stepping into other people's lives. It requires showing up for people. It's about getting your hands dirty, being in relationship and community with people. It's interesting that the most influential person in history, Jesus Christ, when he was deciding how he would raise up leaders to take his message to the world, that the method he chose to grow them up was simply his relationship with him.
I love it. I think, my view on impact has changed so much and continues to evolve over time. I never did go into politics. I probably still won't. But I did go into ministry. I went into ministry right out of college, and I was a worship pastor for a lot of years, and I loved it. I loved ministry. I loved getting to make music with people and leading people, and there was so much about it that I absolutely loved. But I think one of the traps that you can fall into if what you do is mostly done on a stage is one that I fell into, and that was I had a tendency to think that my greatest impact happened on the stage each and every week. And although I think that was definitely impact, and maybe that was a way to scratch the surface with a lot of people, I think I let it hinder me sometimes from really getting into relationships and realizing the impact that I could have sitting across from somebody. And several years into ministry, kind of out of the blue, I really felt a tug to kind of just try business a little bit on the side. And I don't know why I felt so strongly about this. I just felt like I was supposed to do it in addition to ministry. And I was nervous and I was scared to try something new. And I think Chris was even more nervous and even more scared for me to do it. But we did it. I went after it. And what I found was God surprised me in so many ways through the addition of business in my life. And day after day and month after month and eventually year after year, I grew influence through that business. But what was just astonishing to me was the ways that God grew me, the things that he changed in me, the humility that came out of that time, the fact that I learned how very important relationships could be, how influence didn't just happen when I was in a church setting or on a stage, that it happened, in a one-on-one conversation. It happened across, the coffee table from someone at a cafe, in just so many ways. And so during that season, he really shook me awake, I think, to show me that it didn't matter what my vocation was at the time. It didn't matter if I was supposed to be somewhere for ministry or supposed to be somewhere for business. My calling to impact and influence and love and serve people remained the same.
I love how you said that one-on-one or that one on a few. influence is really where our biggest impact is. But the problem with relationships is that they're messy. And they're messy because people are messy. You guys all know this, right? You're all in relationship with people. And I don't know, one night you were traveling, right? And I'm in ministry, so I was getting my boys ready to go to church for a service. I had gotten them all bathed, got them all ready. We were ready to walk out the door, except that we needed to eat dinner. And so I was going to make something quick. Being dad of the year, I made chicken nuggets, and they love ketchup, so I made that for everybody. They really like ketchup, and there might have been, I don't know, a vegetable on the plate too. I don't know. But anyway, so we're all eating at the table, and my third oldest, second youngest, Jonas, he flipped his plate over and got ketchup all over his outfit and all over my pants that I had just put on clean, and I was so upset. I was just so upset. And mainly because I had started really early the process of getting everybody ready, and I wanted to be on time, and here I am. I've got to redress him. I've got to redress me, change my pants, and then head off to church, and I know I'm going to be late, and I'm just so frustrated. And I remember in that moment that God spoke to me in my heart, and he said, "Chris, it is your honor that you are close enough to Jonas to get ketchup on you, that you are close enough to him, that you are in that position where you are sitting next to him, and that as one of his chief influencers, that you would get some of his mess, some of his problems on you. That is your honor. And I don't ever want you to forget that." And I'm telling you, I won't ever forget that lesson. That when we are in relationship with people, that sometimes we get messy. But it is worth it when we love people and serve people.
So if you're a leader, if you're an influencer, if you wouldn't consider yourself either and you just happened upon this video, I want to say to you that it is your honor to get to be close to people, to get messy with people. And that doesn't mean it's easy, you guys. Sometimes people are crazy, and we have these moments that are so unbelievable. And it's hard to love people. It's hard to keep serving people. And there's even times when we want to just give it up altogether. Mm-hmm. But I think there's so much impact that can be made by you just staying with it, by you just continuing to love and to serve people and not taking for granted the stage that you're given.
Yes.
And by stage that you're given, I mean sometimes that stage is a round kitchen table with ketchup all over the place. Sometimes that stage might be a little bit bigger and a little bit shinier. Sometimes you have a ginormous, influence for a certain period of time. Whatever it is, don't take it for granted, and just bring excellence to that little pocket of the world that God's given you impact over and influence over for that season. But also I would say, let's not underestimate the work that can be done in even just a single relationship.
So the question we want to leave you with today is, are you getting ketchup on you? Are you in people's lives enough where you are getting messy? Are you walking across the room? Are you engaging with your neighbor? Are you talking to that person? Those people, they're all around you, and they have stories. If we just step into their lives and we can make a difference, are you doing that? I think it's interesting when I think about what Jesus did for us, right? He came down from heaven, literal, he left heaven and came down to our messy and smelly and broken world to live with us, to love us, to serve us, to make a way for us to get back to heaven. And if we're going to be the kind of impactful leader that he was, we're going to have to follow his example, and we are going to need to step into people's worlds to change them.
So let's go after the big dream. Go after the big stage if that's what you're looking for, but don't just visualize those big things. Along the way, visualize and invest in each face and each person that God puts in your path.